Okay, so good morning class. So before we start our lesson for today, let us first pray. Amen. Amen. So now class, sit down and arrange your chairs properly, and also pick up those trash on the floor. So kind of notice that everyone is sleepy today. So here's a energizer. So we can wake we going to wake up before we start our lesson. So everybody stand up. So okay, let's start. Class, raise your hands, shake, and then put down your hands, and then shake, sideward, shake, and ha! Right, thank you very much class. And okay, so today, Mr. Lopez, who are absent today? Okay, none. Thank you very much, Mr. Lopez. And yesterday I gave you assignments and or agreement to work on. So today you should pass that and pass it forward. Thank you very much, guys. Okay, before we start our lesson, let's first review on what is our lesson yesterday. Who amongst you can tell the class what is our lesson yesterday? Yes, Mr. Santos. Very good. List. And who amongst you can recall what is a list? Yes, Miss Cruz. Very good. So for today we have a new topic, but before that, let us play a game first. So the name of this game is Pinoy Henyo Hep Parade. The instruction is, if you know the game Pinoy Henyo of Ipulaga, but instead of saying yes or no or maybe, you should do the gesture of hep hep, hooray, and pauwi. So you will be grouped into two, and then the first partner will give the category of the object or thing or the given thing, and then his or her partner will, instead of saying yes or no or maybe to the category, he will do the gesture of hooray for yes, hep hep for no, and win for maybe. Okay guys, let's start. Okay class, thank you very much for playing the game and congratulations for the winners. So now we will start our lesson proper. So I hope you have a little of idea on what our lesson because of our game. So yes guys, you're correct. Today our lesson is about functions. During our past lessons, we encounter these functions, especially when we are programming in Python, especially. So, but before that, we should first know what is our objectives. Okay, so our objectives for our lesson for today is, first, define what is a function. Second, classify the types of functions, function arguments, and global and local variables. Third is identify the parts of a function and create a function that computes BMI. So let's start. Okay. First of all, we should define what is a function. Can you read it, Miss Spamming? Thank you very much. Function is a block of organized, reusable code that is used to perform a single related action. So, further in our lesson, we will get to know more what's the meaning of this. Reusable, organized, reusable, and performs a related action. Second is, function provides better modality for your application and a high degree of code reusing. So, by using a function, our program is much more neat, readable, and easily to understand by other programmers. Okay, so my class. So there are types of functions. First is the built-in function. Example of these are the ones that we have encountered during our past lessons, which is print, input, and then. So we all know what print function is. What print function is used for. It outputs a text or display an output on the screen, right? And the other built-in functions. The built-in functions are included in our Python when we download it. And the second is user-defined function. So these functions are functions that are created by the user or the programmer. So in our lesson for today, we will more focus on this user-defined functions. Okay? Okay, so now that we all know that user-defined functions are created by the users or the programmer, we should also learn how to define how to define a function. So there are rules on defining a function in Python. Mr. De La Cruz, please read the first rule. Thank you very much. So, based on this instruction, so user-defined functions are begin with the keyword def or define, but we should always type def in small letters or lowercase. So, class, be careful because this is case sensitive. And most of the IDE that we can use changes its color when this three letters are triggered, and then followed by the name of the function and a parenthesis. Okay, second rule is Mr. Juan, please read. So, those parentheses are called parameters or argument. So, any parameter or argument should be placed within this parentheses. So, any value placed in this parentheses are called parameter or argument. So most of the time, I called it argument. So there, we can define a parameter inside this parentheses. Okay, later on, we will get to know more about this parameters and arguments. Okay. Okay, so third rule, defining a function, the code block within every function starts with a colon and is indented. So after we create the name of our function and then the parentheses, there should be a colon, and then we would hit enter so that the next time we'll indent. So the first statement of the function can be an optional statement. The documentation string of the function or docstring. So when we enter, the cursor will indent, and this part is called docstring. It is optional, but I highly suggest that we put a simple definition or description of our function so that other users or programmers can easily understand how our function behaves or what our function can do, right? Okay, let's make a recap of what we have learned on how to define a function. So, hold on. I have here the meanings of the different parts of a function. So, what you guys will do is you will stick the meaning on each parts of the function. So let's start. What start the code block and mark the end of a function or the header of a function. So very good. It is the colon. Yeah. The colon. And then the function's actual code or instruction is the what is the function actual code or instruction? Very good. This part. Function code. It is where our... Okay, next is argument to pass a value in function inside the parentheses. So what is this? Where is this part of the function? The class? Yes, it's this part. Arguments pass the value a function. And the next is function name to uniquely identify a function. Where should we put this? Very good. In this part. This is the name of the function. So we will determine the name of the function, and most of the time it should be it should describe what our function do. this part. It's this part. And then we have marks. Marks the part of a function. Marks a part of a function. Where should we put this? Of course, at the start, or where the df is. Because it will start our function. And then our last is function docstring and this is optional. So obviously we should put this, or it is this part. It is an optional text that describes what our function do. Okay, so these are the parts of the function. So def, or marks the start of our function, followed by function name. We are the ones, or the programmers or the users are the ones who determine what is our function's name. Then followed by the open close parenthesis, or what we call arguments, or parameters. Arguments are the values or units inside it. And then followed by the colon, which starts our code block. And compared to other programming language, there are no open close bracket in determining the function in Python. So it's much easier. And then followed by the optional docstring, or this is a simple description of what our function will do, and then followed by the main code of our function. Okay guys, thank you very much. Okay, moving forward. So we have created our own function, and then now we will call the function that we created. So this is how we call or execute our function. So calling our function. Call a function, use function name followed by the parenthesis. So this is example of a function. So we define it, and then our function name is my underscore function, open close parenthesis, and our code is, or will print hello world. So we will call our function by typing in the name of our function followed by the open close parenthesis. So when we run this, the screen will output hello world. So that's how we call our, or execute our function. Next is class. Now we know how to define a function, or how to create a function and how to call it. We will now dig in more on the arguments or parameters. So function arguments. There are three common function arguments. Types of formal arguments are required arguments, keyword arguments, and default arguments. So we will explain this one by one. Okay. So required arguments, the number of arguments in the function call should match exactly with the function definition. So let's have an example on how required arguments work, and here's our example. So we have here a simple function. So we define a function and then we name it int me and assigned one argument inside the open close parenthesis, then a colon, and then docstring is this prints a pass string into the function. So our main code is print str or the value of the argument inside the parenthesis, and then we call the function. So what do you think will be the answer to the or what will be the output of this function? Who knows what will be the output of this function? This function is you guys are correct, because the output is error. So why is it error? Because we assigned one value. So we assigned number of arguments in the function call should match exactly with the function definition. So we define the function with one parameter. However, when we called the function, we didn't assign or we didn't put in a parameter. That's why the output is an error. So you can, when you read the error, it will tell you what is the wrong with the function. So print me function takes exactly one argument and then 0 given. So that's your hint of what is the error of the function. So next type of function is the keyword arguments. So okay, Ms. Kalubag, please read what is a keyword argument. Thank you very much. So keyword arguments, a caller identifies the argument by the parameter name. So let's have an example so we can understand more what is a keyword argument. So here's our example. Our example is, I define a function with the function name of print info and assign two arguments of name and age. So colon, start of our main program. So simple docstring is this prints a pass info into this function. So our main program is print string name and then the value of argument name, and then next to it is print age string followed by the value of age argument. So when we call the function, we call the function name and then age, assign it with the value integer of 30, and then name, assign it with the string rows. So what do you think will be the output of this function? Okay, let's see what's the output of this function. So the output of this function is name, rows, and then age 30. So how does this happens? So we assign the keyword name string rows, which passes that value to the argument that we declared with the string name of with the string or with the keyword name, and passes that to our main program. So that's why we have an output of name and rows, the value of rows, as well as the age. When we declared age and assigned it to the value of 30, it passes the value to our argument keyword age, and then passes it to our main program, and thus we have the output of age 30. So have you understand that? And the example made what keyword argument is, what keyword argument really means. Okay, so our next argument is the default argument. So an argument that assumes a default value if a value is not provided in the function call for that argument. So it's much similar to keyword argument. However, when a value is missing, or there are only one argument that is assigned, and then we call when there are two values and one has a default value, and then when we call that function and just we declared one argument value, when we call our function, the default value will be or will also be the output. So here's an example so we can much better understand what is a default argument is. So here's our example. So I define the function named print info again, and then in the parameter I declared name keyword, or two arguments, which is the keyword name and age. However, age, in age, when I declare it, I assigned the value of 50. And then again, colon, and our doc string is this print and pass info function also. So the main program is the same with the keyword argument. So first, this will print this will print the name string followed by the value of name keyword, and then the next line will print age string, and then followed by the value of age. So when I declared or called my function, I called it 2 times. So when the first call is, I assigned the argument or keyword age 30, and then keyword name rows, string rows, and then the second call I only declared one argument, which is the string name, the string James. So what do you think will be the output of this function? Okay, let's see. So the output of the function is, so first line, the output is the same as with the, or since we declared the keyword name, the value of string rows, so it passes the value in the keyword when we declared our argument, and then passes it to our main program. That's why we have the output of name string and the value of rows, and then the age with the value of 30 passes its value to our argument, and then passes the value to our main program. Thus we have the output, age string, and the value of rows. And then instead of an error, since we declared two arguments when we defined our function, and we declared or gave only one argument when we called our function, the argument when we called our function passes the value to the first argument of our, when we defined our function. Thus passes that value to our main program or main code, and we have the output of name string and then the name or the string James, or the argument that we declared James. And then since we assigned a value when we declared the argument age, and we assigned a value of 50, it passes that value to our main program. Thus we have the output of age string and then the value of integer 50. So that's how the default argument works, guys. So I hope you all understand that. Okay, so our next topic is the global versus local variables. So what's the difference of global versus local variables? So variables that are defined inside a function body have a local scope. So local variables are defined inside the function, and those defined outside have a local scope. So those variables that defined outside of the function are the global variables. So I have here an example. As you can see, in this program, we have the variable total and assign it with the value or integer 0. And then we define a function which is named sum, and we declare two arguments, arg1 and arg2. And then our main program is, our main code of our function is total equals arg1 plus arg2, and then next line is print the string inside the function local total plus the total variable. So when we declared our function, we declared sum, our function, and then assigned the argument value of 10 and 20. And then we also have a print function here that will print the strings outside the function global total plus total. So what will be the output of this program? So let's see. So the output will be inside the function local total 30, or inside the function, local total is 30. So this is the sum of what is our code inside our function. And then the next line is outside the function, global total is 0, which is 0 is the global variable that we declared when we started our main program. So did we get that? Okay, thank you. Okay, now we will have an activity that will we will apply what we have learned in our discussion. Okay. Done. Okay, so this is going to be our activity. So we will create a body mass index calculator or BMI calculator. So the formula of a BMI calculator is weight in kilogram over height in meter squared. So our variables are name, string, my name, Alvin, and then height, an integer of 1.73, weight, assigned with an integer of 70. The output will be BMI. So we will show what the output or my BMI, and then there will be a string that should determine if I am overweight or not. So just a reminder, BMI greater than 25 is overweight. Okay, start programming on your computers. So okay, so for the answer on our exercise, let's explain one by one our program. So first, so we declare first our global variables, which is the name, string, name, assign the string of Alvin, and a variable assigned integer 1.73, which is my height, in meter, and then weight, which is 70 kilograms. Next is we define the function name and parameters. So define function name is BMI underscore calc, and we have two parameters or arguments, which is height m and weight kilogram. And then our main program starts with the starts by calculating the BMI, which is BMI is equals to weight kilogram over height in meter squared. Next line of our output is we print the BMI result. So print string BMI plus the answer or my BMI. Next is we have a if-else statement to determine if I am overweight or not. So if BMI is greater or less than 25, print name or the value of name, integer name, argument name, plus the string is not overweight. Else, print name or the keyword name, value of the keyword name, plus is overweight. And then finally we call our function. So BMI calculator, the name BMI underscore calc, the name of our function, and then we declared two arguments, the height and weight. So our output is BMI, or my BMI is 23.3886, so on and so forth. And then the string Alvin is not overweight. So I hope you understand how our program works, and this is the application of all what we have discussed earlier. So okay class, moving forward, and our lesson for today is a quiz. So get ready and prepare 1/4 sheet of pad paper. So okay class, get ready. Our first question is, what keyword starts the function block? So we should all know about what it is, and because we discussed this earlier. So question number 2 is, what do you call a value or keywords placed inside the parentheses of a function block? It's our second question. Third question is, what variable defined within a function is called? Okay, so let's move on to our fourth question. A function print is an example of blank function. So you only have two types of function, right? So print is what type of function? So for our last question is, what is missing in the function? Def, add, argument num1, num2, and then this is a docstring, and then return the num1 plus num2. So what is missing in this function? Okay, so are we all done with the quiz? Pass your papers forward. So let's conclude our lesson for today. But before we go, we will give you an assignment or an agreement for our discussion tomorrow. So our assignment or agreement is, number 1, what is a module? Number 2, what is an import statement? The number 3 is namespace and scoping in Python. So tomorrow, same time, same place, and we may now all go home. Class dismissed.